What if I told you there exists a warrior who has never lost a battle, a being so powerful that even demons fear to whisper his name? A figure revered by Christians, Jews, and Muslims alike. He's rarely mentioned in sacred texts, yet his legend shakes the foundations of heaven and hell. This is the story of Archangel Michael. In the vast tapestry of spiritual beings, Michael stands apart. Not because of the number of times he appears in the Bible, just 6 in total, but because of the overwhelming presence he commands when he does. His name, Michael, means who is like God? It's not a question. It's a challenge, a war cry, an identity. He is not just a messenger. He is heaven's shield, God's general, and the embodiment of divine justice. But Michael's story doesn't begin with war. It begins with silence. In the hidden corners of heaven, before time began as we know it, he was already watching, already standing guard. Unlike other angels, whose roles were clearly defined, Gabriel the messenger, Raphael the healer, Michael's role was mystery wrapped in vigilance. He first appears in the book of Daniel, not as a shining hero descending with thunder, but as a quiet force tipping the scales. A mysterious heavenly being, likely Gabriel, is delayed by the Prince of Persia, a dark spiritual entity opposing the divine plan. Then, without fanfare, Michael arrives. He doesn't boast. He doesn't threaten. He simply acts. The Prince of Persia retreats. The mission continues. And from that moment on, Michael is known as the protector of Israel, the Prince of the people of God. But why Michael? Why does this being, barely mentioned in Scripture, command such awe? Perhaps because his strength lies not in how often he speaks, but in the weight of his silence. In Jude 1 verse 9, he argues with Satan over the body of Moses, not by hurling curses, but by calmly declaring, "The Lord rebuke you." He doesn't fight evil on his own terms. He invokes a higher authority, power in restraint, fire in humility. To me, Michael isn't just a biblical figure. He represents that inner warrior we all strive to awaken, the part of us that refuses to bend to evil, that chooses truth over comfort, that stands tall even when angels fall. I think about the moments in life when I felt under siege by fear, by doubt, by despair. In those moments, Michael isn't a distant figure with wings and a sword. He's a symbol, a call to rise, a reminder that righteousness does not shout, it stands. Legends of Michael stretch beyond Scripture. In Jewish mysticism, he's the advocate of Israel, arguing for mercy even when judgment is deserved. In Islamic tradition, he is Michael, the angel of mercy and nourishment, who brings rain and sustenance to the earth. In Christian lore, he is the commander of God's army, the defeater of the dragon. These aren't contradictions, they're dimensions. Like a diamond turned in light, Michael refracts a different color depending on who gazes upon him. Yet all agree he is not passive. He is action. He is resistance. He is the cosmic answer to chaos. Michael's name isn't just a title. It's a declaration. Who is like God? Not because he claims to be like God, but because he denies that anyone else could be. Lucifer, the fallen angel, thought he could rival God. Michael's name itself becomes the refutation. And so, even before the war in heaven, even before Lucifer's rebellion, the seeds were sown. Michael stood for divine order, for humility, for service. He never needed to be center stage, he was the strength holding up the stage itself. Michael teaches us that true strength isn't in destruction, but in protection. It's not the roar of the lion that proves its power, but the steadiness with which it guards its pride. In an age where loudness often passes for leadership, Michael whispers a different truth. The greatest authority is grounded in righteousness. Over centuries, emperors and kings have invoked Michael. He became the patron saint of warriors, of police officers, of those who put themselves in danger to protect others. His figure adorned the shields of crusaders, the altars of cathedrals, the prayers of soldiers. Yet Michael is not a figure of conquest. He is a figure of defense. He does not draw his sword to expand borders, but to hold the line. Each of us faces our own dragon's addiction, anger, injustice, fear. The story of Michael isn't just an epic in the clouds, it's a mirror held up to the soul. Will we cower, or will we rise? Michael reminds us, strength is not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it. In apocryphal texts, Michael is even more active. He's the one who weighed the souls of the dead, the one who comforted Abraham, the one who warned humanity before divine judgment fell. He is not bound by space or time. He moves through dimensions, appearing when the world reaches a tipping point. He is, in essence, the tipping point. I believe Michael is not merely a figure for the devout. He is an archetype, a timeless representation of the guardian, the righteous warrior, the silent sentinel who stands when others flee. In mythology, psychology, and religion alike, this figure reappears under different names. But the heart remains the same. He is what we strive to be when we stop running from what is right. But Michael's most defining moment was yet to come, a battle not on earth, but in the heart of heaven itself. A war against the most beautiful, most powerful, and most dangerous of all God's creations. The silence of heaven was shattered. A murmur had turned into a roar. Whispers of pride twisted into proclamations of rebellion. And at the center of it all stood Lucifer, the morning star, the most radiant of all angels. Created in unmatched beauty, gifted with unmatched wisdom, he did not fall because he lacked glory, he fell because he wanted more. He wanted the throne. Lucifer's rebellion wasn't a chaotic frenzy, it was calculated. A third of the host of heaven listened. Angels, beings forged of divine light, began to question the very source of that light. In this cosmic insurrection, truth bent under the weight of ego and harmony cracked under ambition. And then, Michael stood. Not in fury, not with grand speeches, but with purpose. The book of Revelation paints the moment in thunderous strokes. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. It wasn't just a clash of swords. It was a battle of ideologies, obedience versus defiance, humility versus pride, truth versus illusion. Michael did not challenge Lucifer as an equal. He did not argue theology or power. He fought because truth required no justification, it only required someone to defend it. His name became his weapon. Who is like God? The question echoed like a blade through heaven's halls. Lucifer had declared, I will ascend, I will rise above the stars, I will be like the Most High. But Michael's very existence answered that arrogance with a divine no. Who is like God? No one. The heavens convulsed. Light clashed with corrupted light. What had been harmony now raged as holy fire met infernal ambition. And then it ended. Lucifer fell. Not because he was weaker, but because his strength was rooted in a lie. The dragon was cast out, and with him a third of heaven's angels. Light became shadow. Cherubim became demons. And where once there was music, now echoed silence. But Michael remained, not with pride, not with triumph, but with clarity. He did not fight for glory. He fought for truth. This is what strikes me most about Michael's role in that war. It wasn't personal. He didn't hate Lucifer. There was no grudge, no vengeance, only allegiance to divine order. Michael's fight wasn't about dominance, it was about preservation. He didn't defeat Lucifer because he was the strongest. He won because he was right. In our lives too, we often face Lucifer's temptations disguised as beauty, ego masked as confidence, lies wrapped in half-truths. And we are called to be Michael. Not to destroy but to stand. Not to hate but to hold fast. But Michael's battle didn't end with Lucifer's fall. Throughout Scripture, he returns again and again at key thresholds of history. When Daniel prays for understanding, it is Michael who clears the spiritual opposition. When Satan accuses the faithful, it is Michael who defends. When the final trumpet sounds, it is Michael who leads the armies of heaven once more. He is not a one-time warrior. He is the eternal guardian. In apocalyptic visions, he is the herald of judgment. In mystical traditions, he is the bridge between worlds. In our dreams, our fears, our longing for justice, Michael becomes the pattern we look to when the darkness rises. Carl Jung would have called him the divine animus, the masculine principle of protection and order. In myth, he is the dragon slayer. In psychology, he is the conscience that warns, the resolve that acts. He is the better angel of our nature. What makes Michael's power so striking is not just that he acts, but that he acts when no one else will. That moment of confrontation, when all others hesitate, when the heavens themselves hold their breath, Michael moves. He is action at the breaking point. He is not loud. He is not boastful. But when truth is challenged, he does not retreat. He steps forward, sword drawn, silence broken. To me, Michael's war against Lucifer isn't just myth or metaphor, it's a call to confront the lies we tell ourselves, to name the pride that creeps in like a whisper, to challenge the voices both within and without that say we are greater than truth, greater than love, greater than God. Because the real enemy is not the dragon out there, it's the one within. And when that battle begins, we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to be radiant. We just need to be willing. But even as Michael cast the dragon down, a greater mystery lingered. Why did God allow the rebellion at all? What purpose does such chaos serve in a universe of divine order? And what is Michael's ultimate destiny when heaven and earth collide once more? The cosmic clash. Heaven had been wounded but not broken. The rebellion was over. Lucifer and his angels had been cast down like lightning. But the fallout of that war left deep scars not just on the battlefield of heaven, but in the hearts of all celestial beings. And Michael? He didn't bask in victory. He stood in silence, sword lowered, eyes searching. Because even after the dragon was defeated, the echoes of that pride, the root of all rebellion, still rippled through creation. In Revelation 12, the vision ends with Lucifer, now the great serpent, hurled to earth. But it also marks the beginning of a new kind of war. Not one fought with swords in the skies, but one waged in the hearts of men. Michael's battle didn't end, it evolved. The earthly mission. From that moment forward, Michael became more than heaven's protector. He became humanity's unseen guardian. He appears at critical moments when darkness threatens to tip the scales. There are countless stories across cultures and centuries. Knights claiming to see a man of light guiding them in war. Children surviving certain death and describing a glowing being holding their hand. Even mystics in deep meditation speaking of an overwhelming presence of justice and peace. Coincidence? Or does the Archangel still walk among us, not in form, but in force? Mystical interpretations. In esoteric Christianity and Kabbalistic thought, Michael represents more than just an angel. He is the spiritual principle of divine will in action. He is the flame that burns without consuming, the fire that refines, not destroys. He is aligned with the sun, the radiant light that exposes deception and nourishes truth. In some mystical traditions, Michael is considered the face of God's mercy in warfare. He fights not to punish but to protect the sacred. Symbolism in art and culture. Renaissance paintings often depict Michael standing triumphant over the dragon, spear in hand, face calm and composed. But the most powerful symbolism isn't his victory, it's his composure. Michael never appears frenzied, never cruel. Even as he strikes, there's sorrow in his face. a quiet acknowledgement that even necessary justice carries a weight. In modern pop culture, Michael appears again and again as a silent protector, a just warrior, an incorruptible leader. From literature to cinema, we keep returning to this archetype because deep down, we long for a guardian who does not falter. For me, Michael's story is more than myth. It's a reminder that true courage isn't loud. It doesn't seek recognition. It simply stands when others fall. There have been moments in my life when I've felt overwhelmed by grief, failure, injustice. In those moments, I remembered Michael not as an angel with wings, but as an idea, a force within, a whisper saying, "Stand." Even now, Michael and the end times. Revelation doesn't just speak of Michael in the past. It points to his return. As the world nears its final reckoning, it is Michael who will rise again. He will lead the heavenly armies one last time, not to dominate, but to cleanse. Not to destroy, but to restore divine balance. In some Christian traditions, it is Michael who will weigh the souls of the dead, who will call forth the righteous, who will close the final chapter of time with justice and mercy intertwined. Michael teaches us that light is not passive. It must choose to shine even in darkness. He shows that defending truth may isolate you but never truly defeats you. That silence can be stronger than shouting. That humility can shatter pride. In a world chasing power, Michael embodies restraint. In a culture praising domination, he upholds service. The inner Michael. What if Michael is not just a being out there but a blueprint within us? Each time we choose integrity over impulse, forgiveness over vengeance, truth over popularity, we answer Michael's call. We don't need a sword to fight evil. We need resolve. We need righteousness. We need to remember that justice begins within. Michael's name, who is like God, isn't a boast. It's an invitation. Maybe we don't need to look to the skies for angels. Maybe we are meant to become reflections of them. Not with wings but with will. Not with divine powers but with divine choices. Michael reminds us that in the war between good and evil, neutrality is surrender. And silence, when righteousness is needed, is complicity. So, when you find yourself at the edge of fear, of despair, of hopelessness, ask yourself, what would Michael do? He would rise. And so must we. If the story of Archangel Michael moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect, don't let it end here. Share this video with someone who needs strength. Comment below, what does Michael mean to you? And if you'd like more epic spiritual journeys like this one, subscribe and join our growing community of seekers, warriors, and believers. The battle may be ancient, but the call is eternal. Stand tall.